Hi everyone, so in today's video I want to talk to you about a really cool Tetra that I've recently, well not recently purchased, I suppose that's the wrong way of saying it, but I've had these maybe 3 or 4 months now, so fairly recently. But I want to talk to you today about the Red Tail Penguin Tetra. So the Red Tail Penguin Tetra is a relatively new sort of species to the hobby. Their availability is becoming more and more common now, but they're certainly something which has been recently discovered. They are a type of penguin tetra, as the name suggests, but they have this striking sort of black bar down the centre with almost like a green, like an iridescent green either side of it when they catch the light, and then this lovely sort of red tail. So the Red Tail Penguin Tetra originates in Brazil in the Rio Teles Pires region. So they're very much used to different types of water really. So they can be found in sort of more black water sort of environments, and certainly in the more clearer regions of the Amazon where there might be underwater plant growth and things like that. So they tend to inhabit slow moving waters, and as I've mentioned, you know, in the more sort of jungly areas of the Amazon where there might be very little plant growth, sort of more, you know, leaf litter and things like that. Like many tetras, the Red Tail Penguin Tetra is happiest when it's in groups of 6 or more of the same sort of species. Having said that, I recently purchased these as a group of 6, and I found that even though they are generally peaceful to other tank inhabitants, they're not that peaceful to each other. It's very tricky really to see them all playing nicely. In this tank here, there's got some Thayeria in the back, and I've recently trimmed it back to give them more swimming room because they tend to swim sort of in the middle to top areas of the fish tank. So I've given them a lot more room, and I'm finding that they are a little bit more active. But generally they tend to find space sort of to one side of the tank as a group. The more boisterous one, I guess the alpha will turn around and will push them back to where they came from. So they do have a specific hierarchy, but they are very peaceful with the other fish which are in the tank. So I've got some cardinal tetras in here, some ember tetras and black phantom tetras, as well as a pair of apistogrammas. And they are absolutely fine with those fish. As I say, not really the nicest to each other. However, I haven't really seen any fin nipping. It's more just a territorial thing and just establishing that pecking order. So as I mentioned earlier, they are a fairly newly discovered species. And because of that, you are likely to pay just that little bit more if you can find them in your local fish shops. I was quite lucky in that I found these, I wasn't actually looking for them at the time, but I found these in my local fish shop. And I think I paid around £100 for 12, which is, you know, is a fair price, I think. As I mentioned, with them being a fairly new species, you are going to pay that little bit more because they do kind of fall into that sort of rare bracket at the moment. The common penguin tetra, which doesn't have the red tail, you're likely to find those a little bit more often, and of course the prices of those is going to be a little bit cheaper. But in terms of temperament and things like that, they're very much you know, a similar sort of thing really. So in terms of tank size, so I would say that you really want to be putting these guys in around 20 gallons, so 75 litres plus. At the moment they're in this 2-foot tank behind me, but I would say that in hindsight, maybe aim for like a 3-foot tank or maybe even a 4-foot tank, just to give them that little bit more swimming room. They are schooling fish, they will swim together as much as possible, but they also like to explore on their own as well. But I would say that as an absolute minimum, I would look to have them in a 20-gallon tank. In terms of tank mates, as I mentioned, they're in here with ember tetras, cardinal tetras, black phantoms and some apistogrammas. I would consider them to be, I mean, a lot of the information online suggests that they are quite timid. From what I've seen here, yeah, I suppose they are timid with other fish. So, but I think you could get away with keeping them in sort of like maybe a semi-aggressive setup with some cichlids, but not too, you know, not big cichlids because they will get eaten. But certainly things like angelfish, I think they'd be fine with, apistogrammas and rams and fish like that. So in terms of tank setup, so you could go one or two ways really. So you could have them in a black water tank. they're going to be absolutely fine in that. They do like a pH as low as possibly 5.5 up to about 7. So you could definitely have them in a black water setup where that pH is going to be a bit on the lower side and the water is going to be softer. The pH in this tank here is around sort of 6.5 to 7, and they're doing really well in this. Obviously this is heavily planted, but as I mentioned, that you could happily have them in a black water type setup as well, where because of that sort of like a neon green that is either side of the black bar on them, I think that could really stand out in a black water type setup. So they'd be absolutely fine with that. So in terms of feeding, they will quite readily accept most foods that you would have, really. I feed mine a granular food, so they get a mixture. They get sort of slightly larger granules, and they also get like a micro crumb, which is like a fine powder, and they happily eat that, and they're doing really well on that. They have been fed on flake as well, and they have readily accepted frozen food as well, so really not fussy at all. They are omnivorous, so you really want to give them a mixture of meat-based and vegetable-based food, but yeah, really not fussy at all. So in terms of breeding them, so if you wanted to breed these fish, again, it's going to be very similar to how other tetras work. So they are egg scatterers, but again, they will eat their own eggs. So you want to look maybe having something like a spawning mop, or maybe like a mesh crate where you could put lots of leaf litter on there. So if they do scatter their eggs, they will fall through the crate and they'll have a better chance of survival. So in terms of tank temperature, so I think 24 to 28 degrees Celsius is probably about right. I keep them in a tank that's around 26 degrees Celsius, and they do absolutely fine in that. So how do they compare to other tetras? Well, as people who follow the channel will know, I'm quite a big fan of tetras. I think that there's so many different varieties that you can get in the hobby. Some are more rare than others, some are more aggressive than others. And I think that in terms of how they compare, as I say, they are a little bit more, I would say they're a frustrating fish, certainly for me. I would say they're quite frustrated just because of the nature of that sort of aggression that they have towards each other. It's not like I've seen with other fish. So I have rummy-nosed tetras, and they seem to be friendly with each other all of the time. You know, you'll always see them swimming together. And similarly, like in this tank, I've got black phantom tetras. Now, I would say that their behavior is a little bit more like the black phantom in that they have a strict sort of hierarchy. However, what I've noticed is that unlike the black phantom tetras, once someone has established themselves as the alpha, you know, the one who's in charge, there tends to be a period of peace after that, whereas the red tail penguin tetras seem to constantly be sort of jostling for position, and that just makes them a little bit more frustrating to watch because you don't really get to see them swimming a lot all of the time. As I've mentioned, they do spend quite a lot of time gathered on one section, and they'll swim around for a while, and then the bickering starts again, and then they'll all go and regroup. And while one fish usually just swims around on its own, sort of, you know, quite happy that they're in charge and they're bossing the tank. That could be down to the size of the tank, which is why I mentioned that, you know, I would say if you can, go for 3 foot or more, especially if you've got other fish in there, which I have. So just something to bear in mind, really. In summary, it's quite a nice fish. Its rarity, if you like, is certainly appealing. It was one of the things that drew me to the fish, as well as that sort of red tail. And as I mentioned, I bought the 6 first, and then I went back and got another 6. And I don't think, I'm fairly certain they didn't have any left after I bought them. So, but I haven't seen them, before then, and I haven't seen them since. So I do think, you know, maybe they're not that easy to get hold of. I'm not too sure, but it'd be nice to see more of them in the hobby for sure. A few people have asked me in the comments about them, so I thought I'd just do this quick video just so you could see what they're like, really, and how they interact and sort of what sort of tank you could keep them in. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next video. By the way, this is the new merchandise. This is a Cardinal Tetra hoodie. If you're interested in purchasing one of these, it helps to support the channel. All the links are in the description below. So yeah, if you're interested in one of these, then you can get them down below. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.